My name's Alex Carter. I'm a freelance photographer from Portland, Oregon, and about 2 weeks ago, I moved into an old cabin deep inside the forests of Hawthorne, Idaho. I wanted peace. I wanted silence. But the kind of silence I found out there didn't feel natural. They say when the wind moves through the tall pines of northern Idaho, it almost sounds like a whisper. At first, I thought that was just a local myth. But soon, I realized the forest around my cabin wasn't just alive, it was listening. The cabin was small, 2 bedrooms, an old fireplace, wooden walls that creaked with every breath of wind. There was no one nearby except for a woman named Mrs. Barrett, who lived down the dirt road. The first evening I spent unpacking cameras, lenses, my laptop, coffee maker, normal things for a normal life I was trying to restart. When the sun went down, the forest changed completely. The world outside my window went black, no streetlights, no sounds, just an endless wall of trees and shadows. I remember lying in bed that first night when I heard it, a soft rustling, like something brushing against the window. It came again, faint but clear. I told myself it was just the wind, but there was a rhythm to it, like someone dragging their fingers slowly across the glass. The next morning, I met Mrs. Barrett while I was checking the mailbox at the edge of the road. She looked to be in her late 60s, gray hair tied in a bun, wrinkled face but kind eyes. She asked where I was from, and I told her I'd just moved into the cabin. Her smile faded just a little. "You'll like the quiet," she said softly. "But the pines, they whisper at night. Don't listen too long." I chuckled nervously, thinking she was joking, but she didn't laugh. She just gave me that same careful look and walked away. That night her words wouldn't leave my head. By midnight, fog had begun to crawl in from the woods. The air was cold, colder than it should have been for spring. I was lying in bed, half asleep, when I heard that same tapping again, this time sharper, more deliberate. Tap, tap, tap. I sat up, listening. And then, clear as day, I heard my name. Alex. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't an echo. It sounded like someone whispering right beside my ear. I turned on every light in the cabin and grabbed my flashlight. When I stepped out onto the porch, the fog was so thick I could barely see my own car. That's when I saw it. A figure, standing among the trees, just far enough that I couldn't make out the face, but close enough to see it was watching me. I raised my flashlight, and instantly the figure was gone. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my neck. I went back inside, locked every door, and sat there until the sun came up. But even as the morning light filled the room, I swear I could still hear a faint whisper in the back of my mind. The next day I drove into town and went to the small library. It was an old building that smelled like dust and pine wood. I asked the librarian if she knew anything about my cabin. She looked uneasy. After a few moments, she brought out a faded newspaper article from 1973. The headline read, "Whispering Pines Incident." The story was about a family, the Carters, who had lived in that same cabin 50 years ago. They had a 12-year-old daughter named Emily who vanished one night during a storm. Her parents told police that she had been hearing voices, calling her name from the woods. She went outside in the middle of the night and never came back. Search teams found her footprints in the mud near the tree line, but no body was ever recovered. Locals started calling the area the Whispering Pines. When I saw the name of the missing family, I froze. Carter, my last name. That night I set up my camera and microphone on the windowsill. If there really was something out there, I wanted proof. At around 2 a.m., the temperature dropped suddenly. The air inside the cabin felt heavy, like the oxygen had been sucked out of the room. Then came the footsteps, soft, crunching over dirt, moving closer. I turned the camera toward the window, switched on my flashlight, and froze. There she was, a young girl standing between the trees. Her dress was torn, her skin pale and gray. Her hair hung wet over her face, and when the light hit her eyes, they didn't reflect. She opened her mouth, and in a voice that wasn't carried by air, I heard, "Don't leave me here." I stumbled backward, my flashlight flickering. Then out of nowhere, the whispering started. Dozens of overlapping voices, circling the cabin. "Take me with you. The trees, remember? Stay here. Forever." The windows rattled. The walls creaked like something was pressing from the outside. Branches slammed against the glass. I ran and grabbed my car keys and bolted out the front door. I didn't even stop to grab my camera. By morning, I had packed everything that still felt safe to touch. When I stepped outside for the last time, Mrs. Barrett was standing on her porch watching me. Her expression was calm, like she already knew. "The pines whisper," she said, "until someone listens." I didn't answer. I just got into my car and drove. As the cabin faded into the fog behind me, I glanced into my rearview mirror, and for a split second I saw her again. A small figure standing at the edge of the woods, watching me go. Now, back in the city, I sometimes still hear it when the wind picks up. That faint, almost human whisper just beyond hearing range. And I swear, every time I close my eyes, I can still see those trees swaying under a pale Idaho moon, as if they're breathing. So if you ever find yourself deep in the woods, and the wind starts to whisper your name, don't listen, because sometimes it's not the wind at all.